Imagine a creature so colossal that its wings could extinguish daylight in a single motion. A guardian forged by God during the earliest moments of creation. A being whose presence in the heavens once represented freedom, power, and divine protection. Yet, this creature has almost completely disappeared from the Bible as we know it today. Its name is Ziz, a monstrous bird, a cosmic sentinel, the ruler of the skies. And if everything that ancient manuscripts claim about Ziz is true, then its disappearance from religious teaching was not a coincidence. It was an erasure. Today we dive into the mystery of the Ziz, the forgotten heavenly beast, the creature that completes a divine trinity so unsettling that later theology decided to hide it. You already know Leviathan, the terror beneath the seas. You've heard of Behemoth, the colossal force that walks the land. But the third guardian, the one placed in a realm above kings, priests, and governments, that one was silenced. Before we uncover this secret, subscribe to the Secret Bible to continue exploring the hidden truths buried in ancient writings. And hype this video so more seekers like you can help bring forgotten mysteries back into the light. Let us now return to the beginning of creation. Ancient Jewish scholars believed that God made three great primordial creatures as rulers of the foundational realms. Leviathan commanded the oceans, symbol of chaos and the unknown. Behemoth dominated the earth, symbol of survival, strength, and mortality. And Ziz ruled the air, symbol of spirit, transcendence, and divine connection. Three realms, three guardians, three reminders that existence is vaster than anything humans could ever control. While Leviathan and Behemoth survived through the canonical scriptures and continued spreading fear and fascination across millennia, Ziz slipped into the shadows of commentary, folklore, and mystical texts. It didn't remain, because accepting Ziz requires accepting a universe far more complex and spiritually wild than the simplified version many religions prefer. Ziz is described in these texts as a creature of impossible scale. When its wings stretch, they cover the horizon. When it rises, its head disappears into the clouds. When it lands, mountains tremble. Its feathers are like shields made of living metal. Its talons can crush entire armies. And its voice, echoing through the winds, can shake the foundation of the world. Some legends claim that its wings generate the very winds that sweep the earth, and that storms are simply the side effect of Ziz adjusting its flight. In these traditions, the air itself is not a place of silence, but a realm of constant spiritual motion. The flight of Ziz represents the invisible currents of consciousness that flow between heaven and earth. So, why would such a mighty and symbolic being be removed from official doctrine? Perhaps the answer lies in the role Ziz played. Many ancient writings portray Ziz as a direct protector of creation, acting without permission or oversight from human authorities. When disaster threatened the righteous, Ziz sheltered them with its wings. When spiritual danger approached, Ziz soared above, guarding the boundaries of heaven from forces that were never meant to descend. A divine bodyguard, a defender of the innocent, a guardian who bypassed institutions entirely. That kind of power, divine, autonomous, and untamed, contradicts the idea that salvation must always pass through a priest, or a temple, or a hierarchy. Ziz represented a relationship between humanity and heaven that needed no human mediation. And so, if one wished to build a system of control, a system where access to the divine was granted only through official channels, symbols of freedom had to disappear. Ziz had to disappear. There is another aspect that may have frightened the architects of later theology. In esoteric interpretation, the three beasts represent three forces inside the human spirit. Leviathan is the fear in the depths of our unconscious. Behemoth is the hunger for dominance and comfort. But Ziz is that unstoppable inner voice that demands transcendence, the urge to rise, to question, to break the cage. If humans recognized that their souls were symbolically linked to Ziz, limitless, high-flying, disobedient to earthly powers, then obedience would become much harder to enforce. A believer inspired by Ziz would not kneel so easily. Therefore, Instead of encouraging wings to grow, religion decided to clip them. But despite this suppression, Ziz continued appearing across cultures far from the biblical world. In Persia, the Simurgh, a vast divine bird with healing powers and cosmic knowledge. In India, Garuda, the eternal enemy of serpents, riding above the world in defiance of Leviathan-like forces. In Egypt, the Bennu bird, symbol of resurrection, renewal, and divine presence. In North America, the thunderbird, whose wings create lightning, whose power shakes the skies. How is it that civilizations separated by oceans share such a specific myth? A colossal bird, a heavenly guardian, connected to creation itself. Some researchers believe this is evidence of an ancient global spiritual memory, one that religions later tried to overwrite. Others suggest that Ziz may have represented real encounters with something colossal in Earth's distant past, a remnant of a forgotten age, perhaps physical, perhaps spiritual, perhaps both. Ancient texts describe Ziz's eggs as so enormous that if one fell from the nest, it could drown entire forests under a flood of liquid. Not as an act of malice, but because Ziz's existence is too grand for the human world to survive close contact. Creation is more immense than we can handle, so we choose comfort over truth. Mystical writings also link Ziz to the celestial hierarchy, suggesting that angels were modeled after this creature's command of the heights. Not because angels have feathers, but because the concept of elevation, rising above human limitation, is a divine idea embodied in Ziz. If Leviathan pulls downward and Behemoth holds us grounded, Ziz reminds us that the spirit is meant to ascend. What kind of religion would want humans to feel capable of spiritual takeoff without their permission? Better to make them look down, at sin, at guilt, at unworthiness, than to let them look up and remember they were made to fly. What remains clear is this: if we restore Ziz to the spiritual story of humanity, we restore the belief that heaven is not distant, it is layered around us, alive with movement, intelligence, and guardianship. Maybe Ziz was erased because it challenges us to reclaim the sky. Maybe looking up is the most rebellious act a believer can perform. So the next time you watch birds tracing invisible paths above the earth, imagine those tiny shapes as shadows cast by something ancient, still moving behind the light. Something that once protected humanity when corruption spread. Something that still watches, unseen, making sure darkness does not rise too far or too fast. What if the sky is not empty at all? What if the heavens are guarded by wings older than history? What if Ziz was never gone, only hidden? As we ponder the hidden guardians of heaven, we must also consider what our ancestors lost when they accepted the erasure of such mysteries. How many other beings, concepts, or spiritual principles were removed to fit an easier narrative? When Ziz vanished from sermons and scriptures, the notion of divine oversight that isn't mediated by human authority vanished with it. Throughout history, control over stories has equaled control over people. When you control which creatures exist in the minds of believers, you control which possibilities are available to them. Remove the guardian of the sky and you remove the idea that direct divine protection can come without an earthly mediator. Remove the symbol of spiritual ascent, and you discourage souls from striving upward on their own. But stories have a way of surviving. A forgotten manuscript, an oral tradition told in whispers, a folk tale disguised as fairy story. Ziz persisted through these. In some medieval Jewish texts, the Ziz returns at the end of time to join Leviathan and Behemoth in a cosmic banquet, symbolizing the reunification of all realms, sea, land, and sky. In such accounts, the righteous feast on the flesh of these beasts, gaining divine wisdom and strength. It's a dramatic image of reconciliation between creation and creator, one in which Ziz plays a vital role. What if that feast is not literal but spiritual? Maybe the story hints that humanity will one day reclaim all three parts of its nature: facing fear, Leviathan, confronting desire, Behemoth, and embracing freedom, Ziz. In that sense, the erasure of Ziz becomes not just a loss of a myth, but a loss of self-understanding. To grow spiritually, we must accept all parts of our being. Now, why did rabbis and mystics preserve the ziz while canon compilers did not? It could be because those rabbis saw beyond literalism. They recognized that myths carry psychological and spiritual truths more profound than any historical claim. For them, the ziz was never just a bird. It was an archetype, a living metaphor whose wings might lift your mind. For us, revisiting ziz invites a critical question. Who benefits when certain symbols vanish? Who gains from a narrative where sky guardians are silent? In many historical eras, governments and religious authorities discouraged direct mystical experiences among the populace. Mysticism often empowers individuals to find meaning without intermediaries, which can be inconvenient for institutions dependent on control. In reclaiming ziz, we reclaim the part of spirituality that is wild, direct, and personal. We remember that the path to the divine might include open skies, not just stone walls. The heavens may still be full of life. Perhaps our ancestors were not naive to believe in sky guardians. Perhaps we are naive to think we've outgrown them. If this investigation awakened a spark of curiosity within you, subscribe to The Secret Bible and hype this video so many more can rediscover the forgotten guardians of creation. Because there are forces in this world that were never meant to be erased. And sometimes, the greatest truths are those that soar just beyond the reach of those who seek to control the sky. Keep looking up. One day you might see the shadow of wings that were never supposed to disappear.